A brief history of Blade. Blade the Vampire Hunter is a character in the Marvel Universe that has been around for decades. He's half human and half vampire and can walk in the daylight. His main arsenal of weapons includes stakes, daggers, a sword, and guns, and various other weapons. Blade has numerous comic appearances, merchandise. Hold up, stop the show. Who made this helmet head looking Blade toy? My bad, I got distracted. Anyways, Blade has his own television shows and movies. And I've been a fan of his since I was a child growing up in the 90s. Now, enough with the introduction, let's get into the history of Blade. The 1970s. The era where martial arts movies exploded onto the scene, with movies like Fist of Fury and Enter the Dragon. It was also the decade of blaxploitation films like Foxy Brown, Superfly, and Shaft.
My name is John Shaft. Freeze.
In 1973, Blade the Vampire Hunter, or Eric Brooks, was created by Marv Wolfman and Gene Colan. Blade originally appeared in the comic The Tomb of Dracula number 10, and in his first appearance, he was a supporting character trying to kill Dracula. He came in sporting a burgundy overcoat and green pants, and some cool ass shades. His swagger, or drip, or riz, or whatever words we use for style and self-confidence these days, was off the scale. Anyways, in this issue, a couple that's newly married is attacked by a couple of vampires, and Blade comes in to save the day. The rest of the story takes place aboard a cruise ship where the elite are having a good time and Dracula shows up, bloodthirsty and all. He manages to lure a woman to his room and feeds on her. Blade is then seen swimming towards the ship so he can kill Dracula. He confronts Dracula, however, Dracula is too crafty to be stopped by Blade in this issue. He turns into a bat and manages to trap Blade. However, the woman that Dracula recently turned into a vampire distracts him, and Blade manages to escape and Dracula as well. And this was the beginning of Blade's journey. He would appear in many more comics in the Tomb of Dracula series. His backstory in this series was that his mother was bitten by a vampire during childbirth, and that's why he hunts vampires. He's also immune to vampire bites. However, in this series, he didn't really have his superhuman strength and abilities. Blade eventually got a solo story in the comic magazine series, The Vampire Tales. The Vampire Tales was considered a magazine series and not a comic. Therefore, Marvel was able to publish more graphic content, such as partial nudity and more blood and violence. The 1990s. The era where animated cartoons became part of everyday life for young millennials. Cartoons like Batman the Animated Series, the X-Men, and Spider-Man the Animated Series. In the 90s, Blade would start to grow in popularity by appearing in the Night Stalkers comic series that ran from 1992 through 94. In the Night Stalker series, Doctor Strange gathers Hannibal King, Frank Drake, and Blade together to fight supernatural enemies. In this series, we also see Blade rocking the black all-leather outfit that has him looking like Black Terminator, but I'm not complaining. In 1994, he would get his own comic book series titled Blade the Vampire Hunter. He would also appear in the Spider-Man animated series in the episodes titled Blade the Vampire Hunter. In this episode, he is tracking down Morbius the living vampire, and he explains how his dad was a vampire and his mother is a human. And through this, he has all of the vampire strengths and none of their weaknesses. Now, superhero movies in the 90s were hit and misses, and a whole lot of misses. I'm talking Batman and Robin, with the hokey gadgets and Mr. Freeze giving us cringy one-liners.
Alright everyone, chill. Chill.
That random Captain America movie that nobody saw.
You have even failed to teach me English, but I am much practicing while you sleep. Where is the big bomb, boy?
In Steel, starring Shaq. This movie was so terrible, I remember kids in school getting roasted up for admitting they went to go see this movie. The conversation went something like this. What did you do this weekend? I went to go see Steel. You look like a steel-head ass boy. As for good movies, Batman Returns, mostly because of Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman. Yes, ma'am. In The Shadow, which is basically Batman. If he used guns, it could turn invisible in darkness. However, the hero movie to rule them all was Blade, starring Wesley Snipes. This movie's story, pacing, and action are still good, even to this day. The intro scene of the unsuspecting man walking into the vampire club is one of the most epic intros I have ever seen. He thinks he's going into an awesome club with an attractive woman and doesn't even know that he is the main course meal. Then Blade comes in and saves his ass by shooting and slicing every vampire in sight. Also, Blade's friendship with his mentor Whistler was put together very well. The main villain in this movie is the vampire Deacon Frost, who seeks to make himself a vampire god with Blade's blood. Even with the great action scenes and storylines, this movie has some of the best quotes to ever grace film. Like,
Still heavy. But you're so big. You out of your damn mind?
and my personal favorite,
Some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill.
the success of this movie helped save Marvel from bankruptcy. It also became a blueprint for better produced superhero movies that Marvel would use in the coming decades. The 2000s. After the success of the first Blade movie, Marvel started producing higher budget superhero films, like the X-Men, the Fantastic Four, and Spider-Man. In 2000, Blade got his own video game for the PlayStation based off the movie. In 2002, Blade 2 was released in theaters. In this movie, Blade faces off against mutated vampires called Reapers that feed on humans and vampires. And Reaper bites can turn both species into Reapers. I don't know about y'all, but when I first saw these things, they scared the hell out of me. They look like human predators, and they weren't able to be killed off so easily. The main villain in this movie is Jared Nomak, who is the original Reaper. This movie has a good plot, comical moments, and great action, especially the final battle between Blade and Nomak. Blade 2 was an all-around good movie. And don't forget about Norman Reedus as Scud. Moving on. In 2004, Blade Trinity was released. This time, Blade is joined by other vampire hunters who call themselves the Night Stalkers. The group's main members are Hannibal King and Abigail Whistler, who is Whistler's daughter. The main villain in this movie is Dracula, who was revived by a group of vampires seeking to use his blood to find a cure for vampire weaknesses, such as sunlight. Dracula, or Drake, as they refer to him in this movie, has an agenda of his own. In 2006, Blade got his own live-action show called Blade the Series, starring Sticky Fingers. This show continues from the events of Blade Trinity. The main villain is vampire Marcus Van Sciver, who is working on a cure for vampire weaknesses. The series only lasted for one season. The 2010s. The era where anime shows like Attack on Titan, Sword Art Online, and One Punch Man became well known even amongst non-anime watchers. And even Marvel was getting in on the action. In 2011, Blade got his own animated series, which aired 12 episodes. In this series, he hunts down Deacon Frost, like in the first movie, but with some differences. The series is a legit Japanese anime. In the first episode, he pulls off an optical jutsu on one of the vampires he's fighting.
Deadly sword technique number 1.
Oh, you Black Eisen now, huh, Blade? Uchiha Blade now, huh? I didn't even know Blade had that ability, but I'll let it slide. Anyways, moving on. In 2013, Blade appeared in the Ultimate Spider-Man animated series for 2 episodes. The episodes are titled Blade and the Howling Commandos. In the episodes, he teams up with Spider-Man and his team to fight Dracula and his vampires. The 2020s. As of the 2020s, in 2021, Blade's voice appeared in a cameo during the post-credits scene of the movie Eternals. And in 2022, Blade appears in Marvel's Midnight Suns video game. In July of 2023, Blade Comics got a reboot with sleeker graphics and a new storyline that involves him fighting a powerful being known as the Adana. Doctor Strange makes an appearance, and so does his old nemesis, Dracula. And Blade gains some new abilities along the way. As of the making of this video, Blade is set to get a new movie in 2025 starring Mahershala Ali. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe for more content. This concludes another episode of The Voice of Rhino.